Hello Team FD, you dirty dogs, and welcome back to Sunday Vibes, where we ramble about football in a pub. You know the rates by now. Joining me, it's Michael McCubbin, it's Doogie Critchley, back in the green trousers, back in the Sambas. How are you feeling today, gentlemen?
Yeah, very well. Good. I don't think Doogie's ever left the Sambas, to be honest.
Not since I was 14. It's been about a decade.
Yeah. I like your little Instagram post there of that woman wearing them.
Oh yeah, I see them around London occasionally actually, and there's this great woman that I bump into once a week, and she's about 60, but she's rocking.
Wow. Right, before we go off into Doogie's love affair with the Sambas that's lasted a lifetime, let's jump into our first question from Abhish, and he's put, lads, thoughts on Frenkie de Jong to Barcelona. Now, by the time this video goes live, he very may well have joined the Blaugrana. Looks pretty much nailed on, doesn't it, gentlemen? Apparently joining in the summer, and Barcelona are paying £75 million for him. His current transfer market value is 60, so they've gone above and beyond what he's currently worth, which is maybe why they beat PSG to his signing. Michael, you're a bit of a part-time Barcelona fan. We've all seen the T-shirt, mate. Glorious as it is. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting move. I think it's exciting for Barca fans, and I think it's probably the right move for De Jong as well, to be honest. I think Man City would have been a good fit for sure. PSG, not so much. But I think to kind of follow in the kind of footsteps of some kind of Dutch greats who've gotten to Barca in the past, I think, it seems like the most natural fit. And obviously Barca have a midfield that is kind of in need of, in the long term, a little bit of shaking up. Obviously they've done so with the signing of Arthur last summer, and then Rabiot probably coming in as well. Obviously it remains to be seen whether he can come into the Barcelona team and boss it straight away, whether he'll even have a starting berth to begin with. Obviously, Busquets and Rakitic are hard to usurp, and obviously Rabiot coming in as well. So definitely, I think that remains to be seen, obviously. But I think in the long term, this is really positive for Barcelona, and I think for fans who will be looking beyond Valverde as a manager, I think to see this kind of talent cropping up in the midfield is pretty promising in terms of just how picky the Barca fans are in terms of the style of play and whatnot. They've got three of the most Rabiot, one of the best midfielders in the world, and Frenkie de Jong and Arthur, two of the most promising midfielders.
Two players with really unique skill sets and, like you said, tailor-made for that 4-3-3. Now, Frenkie de Jong, 80 passes a game this season, only just edged out by some of Barcelona's chief playmakers in midfield. 3 goals, more than any Barcelona central midfielder in this current setup, and he creates more chances per game than Arthur, than Busquets, than Rakitic. So really not giving up on any front. So like you said, they've got themselves a very unique talent, and I'm just happy, Doogie, that he didn't go to PSG really, because it does seem like, a bit of synergy, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. He definitely seems like a Barcelona type player. I think he'll fit pretty seamlessly. He is still quite raw. I mean, he's only made 58 senior appearances, but everything suggests that he'll be able to adapt to the change. He was heavily wanted by Guardiola as well, who'd be really disappointed. I saw on Twitter that Sam Lee, the really respected City journalist, said that Man City, it wasn't held back by financial fair play. Barcelona just went above and beyond the asking price, got their man. And Guardiola has since said that City need to be more efficient and more basically cutthroat at going for their targets and getting them over the line when they identify these people. Because it's not the first time now. I mean, they obviously missed out in Jorginho in the summer. They missed out in Fred in the summer, although possibly dodged a bullet there. They missed out in Van Dijk last January because Liverpool went above them. So, Man City...
no element of financial fair play.
Supposedly not.
Apparently, Barcelona's fee might rise to 86 million euros.
With add-ons.
£11 million worth of add-ons. So it's amounting to a pretty sizable fee for, like you said, someone who's got 6 goals, 12 assists in their career.
Exactly, yeah. But he's, his performances in the Champions League have been really promising as well. He played very well in the 2 ties against Bayern Munich. He can also play at centre back. And I actually saw on Twitter from an account called Opta Johan that he loses possession with 9.7% of his touches. And that's not actually a statistic that I'm that accomplished to, but that was the best in the Eredivisie of players to have played 500 minutes. So that's pretty promising. I think he'll fit really well into the Barcelona midfield, and as McCubbin says, it's looking good for the future. They've almost safeguarded their future of the midfield now, because Busquets can still play a role into his, for at least a couple more years. And then they'll have Arthur, De Jong, Rabiot. It's getting a bit silly actually. That midfield.
I was going to say, do you think it's probably wise that he is arriving in the summer and not now, because other teams are falling by the wayside in La Liga. Barcelona don't particularly need him, probably see more value in him developing at Ajax. But I think you touched upon it. Rakitic, Vidal, Busquets turning 31, 32 in the summer. That long-term prospect of Rabiot, De Jong and Arthur could be all conquering for years to come, couldn't it really?
So yeah, I mean, what, De Jong's 21, Arthur's 2021, Rabiot, 23, 24, is it? So that's like a near 10-year investment with those three, which is pretty amazing. And considering, like, Busquets is one of the final hang-alongs of the Guardiola era, obviously Messi as well. I probably forgot someone else, Piqué. But yeah, this seems like Barca are kind of renewing without going through their usual period of crisis, and maybe that's been helped by the fact that La Liga's been relatively poor quality in terms of the top sides this season, and Valverde's been given a relatively easy ride despite not being the most popular manager. So yeah, and with Valverde, this is the thing. I think this is very much a signing for beyond his kind of leadership at the club. I don't know how well De Jong, Rabiot and Arthur will be as a trio under his leadership. Obviously, he's not really a natural 4-3-3 man, which has always been a bit of a gripe with fans.
Bended to the fans' demands, hasn't he? Often deployed the 4-4-1-1 last season. To
which
create
is better,
effects as well. Coutinho fit in that system much more so than he does a 4-3-3.
I think Coutinho could fit in a 4-3-3, but it just doesn't seem to have worked under Valverde. He just doesn't seem particularly comfortable with that formation.
He's come back into the side for the last couple of games, hasn't he? And they've actually won. He went through a 2-3 game period that we mentioned on this show, particularly with like underwhelming draws against Bilbao, I think, potentially a loss to Getafe as well, where he played in Ousmane Dembele's position, and Ousmane Dembele came back and banged. But Valverde having ownership of these players is an interesting one, isn't it? Because a lot of fans are clamouring for Quique Setien, the Real Betis manager, to take charge, because he's this possession-heavy, attacking, dynamic manager. Even the manager Sassuolo's been in with a shout. Dougie, do you think that he's going to be around to bend and shape these young players?
Probably not, just because I think whatever he seems to do, there's always the same complaints about his style of play. I mean, look how dominant they were in La Liga last year, and he lost that one game against Levante. Still, they wanted him out. If he doesn't go far in the Champions League this year, I actually expect him to leave this summer. He just never seems to have really got them on side, and the Barcelona fans and the mood around the club seems like he's a sort of dead man walking eventually. But I think this is a good sign, this signing anyway.
Do you boys think that's fair? The attitude of the Barcelona
I
fans?
think it's overly demanding.
I like the quote from you in Transfer Review where you said they're a lot more like Real Madrid fans than they'd like to admit in terms of their maybe rashness, in terms of their demanding nature. But this is a guy who could complete a double. He completed a double last season, didn't he? But win back-to-back La Ligas. He's kind of, like you said, he's brought continuity to the club. He's a safe pair of hands. But they are married to the Cruyff way of playing, and I kind of respect that at the same time. So who do you think should win out, in your opinion? The fans' demands or this, back-to-back La Ligas?
I mean, it's a difficult one. I think he has been. The fans have been harsh on him, but there have been moments where you kind of question what his game plan really is. I was at the Bilbao game back in September, and he decided to keep Busquets and Messi on the bench until about 60 minutes in, or maybe he brought on Busquets at half time and brought on Messi at 60 minutes in, and by that time they were already 1-0 down. Messi managed to bring it back to 1-0. The kind of things like that, like you can see why the fans are on his back. There's not really a huge amount of rationale to making a decision like that and playing players out of position and whatnot.
Accused of being a little bit cowardly with his subs, isn't it?
Yeah, so I can see where the frustrations come from. I think in a normal world, I think he would probably have another season, but I think you might be right, Dougie. I think maybe even if he does scrape the La Liga this season, he could be off this summer
If
Barca
Champions
wants someone else.
League to survive another year.
Yeah, so it's a difficult one, and obviously it completely kind of depends on the kind of powers that be at Barcelona as well. Bartomeu's not a particularly popular man either, so yeah, there's a lot of issues at Barcelona, but at the moment that hasn't affected their on the pitch results. So I think they have been relatively fortunate in that
They're
sense.
still signing these sort of world-class talents quite routinely. I think people were slightly concerned when they only brought Kevin Prince Boateng in on loan when they were looking for a striker this window, and maybe thinking that not all was quite well behind the scenes financially. Because why wouldn't they just spend a little bit more on someone who's younger, fitter, who can probably do a better job as an out-and-out 9. Boateng's a useful player in a squad, but he's not really going to replace Suarez ably in the league or in the Copa del Rey to be able to keep him fit for the Champions League. So I thought that was a slightly bizarre signing. But yeah, it doesn't seem like Valverde is necessarily the one running these transfers either, because the way he's used Dembele, the way he's used Coutinho, doesn't seem like these are the players that he'd have liked for his system.
Yeah, I think the worrying thing is about Valverde is, despite Barcelona maintaining a certain standard, being top of La Liga, generating the joint most shots in the league, conceding the second fewest behind Eibar, I think, they have still been heavily reliant on Messi kind of defying Father Time.
And Suarez,
and scoring, his top goal scorer in La Liga at current. Yeah, Suarez was kind of unfortunate at the start of the season, wasn't he? Still getting into very promising positions, great shot locations, and the sort of dam burst about 5-6 weeks ago, didn't it? But still heavily reliant on that forward pairing. So when you do see them bring in people like Kevin Prince Boateng, you are like, well, you're not coasting that much. You're not coasting to the point where selling Munir and bringing in someone from Eintracht Frankfurt necessarily makes sense. And I do feel for the Barcelona fans in that they have this talent at their disposal, and sort of generational talents as well in Dembele, Coutinho. There's now sanctioned 3 transfers under Valverde, over 80 million. He might not be making those transfers, but at least it appears like Liverpool, they have some sort of coherent strategy, because their squad turnover is not going to be anywhere near as dramatic as the one that Real Madrid are currently facing. Real Madrid are going through a crisis, and they've got most of their influential players are 29, 30 or over, aren't they? Still Benzema, Toni Kroos, Luka Modric, or Toni Kroos. I always think he's older than he is just because of the speed that he moves at. Doesn't necessarily need to be fast, does he? Because it's all up here, velocity's in the mind. But I think Barcelona have just assembled an unreal amount of talent, but it's now finding the man who's going to best utilise that. And is Valverde that person? Do they just want to win kind of, not empty La Ligas, that's super harsh, but given the standing of the other clubs, I think even Tata Martino would be doing the back-to-back La Ligas in this current setup. But
right.
Do you want any other thoughts to sort of throw out there on Frankie de Jong? Because Man City, it's got to be said, missed out on another transfer. Now still looking for a Fernandinho replacement. We're going to touch upon midfield in the next question. But lads, who else is out there that's going to take this pivotal player's role?
It's almost impossible to replace, isn't it? I mean, we'll come on to it more in the next section, but Fernandinho's got to be in the running for Player of the Year on current form, really. Still going so strongly at 33. I mean, it would be really difficult. I think there's always talk of Ruben Neves, but I think he's really overpriced at there's talk of 80 million. I think that's really too much. You could probably get one of the Lyon midfielders, in Dembele or Aouar or Toussaint, which could do an able job. But yeah, it's slightly worrying for Man City, and they need to get a move on, because Fernandinho can't go on forever. And
profile-wise, Frankie de Jong fit really nicely, didn't he? That's the annoying thing.
Definitely, because he does a lot of defensive work as well. I mean, he averages 3.4 tackles and interceptions per game in an Ajax side that dominate the ball, so he's not afraid of putting his foot in either. So he would have been perfect, but yeah, we'll wait and see.
See if he's the real deal, because Ajax have of course been absolutely unreal this season, only dropping 5 points, and like you pointed out in transfer review, I think that happened in the weekend just gone as well, when they drew 4-4 with who?
Herenveen, I think.
Herenveen. What a game that was. If you're at the game, let us know your thoughts on that in the comments below. But any final thoughts, McCubbin?
No, just good luck to Frankie de Jong, I guess. Good signing.
There it is. Let's bounce into the next question. Next question then, before we delve into quickfire questions, comes from @Celtic_FC_23. Doogie picked these questions, all right? So don't accuse me of being biased, but I do respect the fact
It's a good question.
you know, he's wormed his way into the conversation with something non-Celtic related, because we have to do that as Celtic fans. Because, you know, people don't care at large about the SPFL.
Same with Sunderland. I know the
Hilarious
feeling.
Rangers losing to Kilmarnock yesterday, though, in that awful orange kit. Jermaine Defoe scored, though, Doogie. Do you miss him at Sunderland?
Yes, I miss him every day. One of a number of players that I wish we still had, even at whatever he is, 36.
What about Maggi going to Bordeaux? Because you were absolutely fuming in the office.
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed with that. Not because it's not a good move for him, but it's just continues the recent, you know, we always lose our best talents in January. We've done it for the last 5 or 6 years. Darren Bent, Patrick Van Arnholt, Lewis Graben last year. It just goes on and on. El Mohammadi a few years ago as well. We can't carry on losing talents in January and expecting to do well in the league without ably replacing them. I mean, there's talk of Will Grigg coming in, but I'm not that enthused. So I'm pretty disappointed.
There we go, Sunderland chat complete for the episode. We're going to work well, the question is, that would be helpful, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Revisiting that. So Celtic FC 23 has asked, which club has the best attack, midfield and defence in Europe? Now we're going to work our way back. We've taken one section each, starting with attack. And Doogie, you've picked that being the Flairmeister General that you are.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Very dodgy right back indeed. No flair in my game. But yeah, attacks. There is a lot of choice in Europe at the moment. I think Barcelona, Man City, Liverpool, Juventus are all in for a shout. But I think PSG actually have the standout attack at the moment. They've scored the most goals. They've scored 62 compared to Barcelona's 54. Liverpool's 54 as well.
That match against Gangon helped, didn't it?
That certainly did. 9-0 at the weekend. And they've scored the same amount of City actually, but they've played 4 fewer games. So they're averaging 3.3 goals per game in Ligue 1, and that's 25 more than the next best in France, which is actually surprisingly Strasbourg, who have a player called, I think he's called Kenny Lala, who's playing really well, but otherwise I don't know much about Strasbourg. So if you guys do,
what a name.
In the comments below, let me know how Strasbourg are doing so well. They've scored at least 4 goals in 10 of their 28 games this year, in all competitions, so that's Champions League as well. Obviously did a pretty good Champions League campaign, recovering from that loss at Anfield. They conceded quite a few more, though. I think they conceded 4 more than Napoli in that time, so there were some issues in the bigger games. But their attack really can't be faulted. Their numbers look like this. I've got them down. So Cavani's got 19 goals and 5 assists in 19 games. Neymar's got 18 goals and 8 assists in 18 games.
Wow.
And Mbappe has 20 goals and 9 assists in 20 games.
They remind me of Globo Gym from Dodgeball. You know, just this all concrete, expensively assembled side. But good from you.
Big time. But yeah, they can't really be faulted. Even Cavani, there was talk of him being pretty unhappy at the start of the season. Those sort of rumours have gone away. They might have an issue in the next coming weeks, though, with Neymar. I think he picked up an ankle injury in last night's game against Dijon.
Did you see him rainbow flick the guy that tried to take him out?
I didn't actually, no.
Oh my God.
Apparently he was just pulling it all out.
Filthy beggar.
Yeah, I don't really
That's
blame
one thing
them
he does
for
before
hacking
2
him.
months out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently it's the same ankle that ruled him out for the back end of last year as well.
Yeah, they kind of rushed him back, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
And he was unfit at the World Cup as well, so there's not been a period where Neymar's just been able to chill the fuck out.
Yeah, definitely. But actually, I think the main man this year has probably been Mbappe. I think other than Messi in Europe, it's difficult to see a more lethal player. He's averaging 5.4 shots per 90. I've got his stats down here: 1.9 key passes, 2.4 dribbles. He's got 17 goals and 5 assists in the league alone. His XG per 90 is 0.97.
That sounds good.
His expected assists are 0.31. So combined, he's expected 1.3 goals per 90, goal contributions per 90.
I think it might be only him and Lewandowski, possibly Messi, who are averaging over 1 combined.
Really?
In Europe, yeah.
Really? Actually, I've got it down here. I think there are actually the top scorers in each league. Salah, combined goals and assists, 1.1. Jovic is 1.1. And Ronaldo, I think, is 1.1 as well. So Mbappe is pushing up towards Messi levels. There's no one else in Europe that's really performing at his level that's human. Obviously, Messi doesn't really count.
Yeah.
And you've got to give it to Barcelona as well. When they've got their full, their best attacking players on the pitch, they must be in with a shout as well. Messi's got 24 goals and 11 assists in 22 games. Suarez has got 15 goals and 7 assists in 23 games. Dembele, slightly less, 10 goals and 4 assists, but that's still pretty impressive for his first sort of full season, being a number 1 anyway.
Season, yeah.
And exactly, when he's been in and out of the side as well. So I'd go PSG, Barcelona and Juventus probably on the continent, I think they've got a lot of depth in their forward line as well, with Bernardeschi not even starting, Mandzukic coming off the bench, Douglas Costa, Dybala, Cristiano Ronaldo, you know all these names, ridiculous depth. And then in the Premier League, there's some 2 great attacks as well.
You should go and read Bernardeschi's Players Tribune article.
Oh, was it good?
Very interesting, yeah. McCubbs, you're going to come in with midfield, aren't you?
So yeah, probably not PSG's midfield, especially with Rabiot going in the summer, like we were saying, and Verratti's out injured now as well. So they're a little bit threadbare now in that
Exciting
area.
for United.
It is very exciting for United, actually. Yeah.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer leading you to the promised lands, mate.
I mean, he's done it once before,
If he
hasn't he?
gets to the semi-finals, he's getting the job.
That would be crazy.
You'd
That would actually
you'd probably
mental.
have to get the job. Top 4 in semi-finals.
That'd be crazy. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm not even holding out for top 4 yet. But anyway, enough of the Solskjaer chat because I had it last night with my mate and he just couldn't go. He just kept on going about. Yeah, pretty much. But anyway, back to midfields. United definitely not in with the shout there, despite Pogba's improved form. But anyway, I'd say Real Madrid, Barcelona obviously have to be in with their shout there. Both have decent depth in midfield. Madrid's has obviously been underperforming this season, but last season you'd probably say that hands down, Kroos, Modric and Casemiro were kind of far and away the best trio in world football. And obviously Barcelona, with the signings we've mentioned before, could be
now
very
have
tasty
8
next.
midfielders in the club.
It's ridiculous. But no, I think it's hard to look past Man City, to be honest. You kind of thought at the start of the season that with Liverpool buying Fabinho and Keita that they were going to kind of maybe bed in a bit quicker and become more of a force, but really Liverpool have been far more reliant on kind of Alisson and Van Dijk kind of keeping things settled at the back and their attack performing even more ferociously than they have in the past. So I think Man City's midfield is definitely the best, at least in the Premier League, if not in Europe. Obviously Fernandinho, who we've mentioned, practically irreplaceable. David Silva and Bernardo Silva, who's played there a lot more this season in the absence of Kevin De Bruyne.
He's a little genius, man. Absolutely love Bernardo Silva.
Been fantastic.
Really underrated.
Yeah, fantastic. And we've said it all the time, but like defensively, he has made up so much this season. And I think just as well, because they lost so much with De Bruyne not being in the side. Just the fact that he can basically do anything as a midfielder. I think I do think KDB coming back into the Man City side, if he's fully fit, can mask a little bit of what Fernandinho, if Fernandinho's out.
He can be that deep line playing.
Yeah, just because he can
put up defensive numbers. But you're speaking about Man City having the best midfield even without KDB in his pop. Of course, started the other night against Burton, but incredible how they've managed without him.
Yeah, massively. And considering they've been without him, and obviously Liverpool are 4 points ahead still, you'd still say that on balance Man City have had a better season than Liverpool in terms of consistent performances.
I still think Bayern for the Bundesliga, Man City.
Maybe a lot of hate from the
Do you think Bayern still for the Bundesliga really? I mean, it's hard to bet against it, isn't it, in some ways, because of their track record. But I'll go into a few stats here because Doogie has plastered this page with them, so I'm going to make an effort to try and make sense of them. But David Silva this season, maybe has not been as recognised this season as last season. Very consistent performer, obviously, but perhaps he had a bit more of a key role last season. But still, this season, 9 goals, 3 assists in 24 games, and forget he's 33. Yeah. So like that's another place where City maybe have to address in the long run, unless Bernardo Silva can step into that role seamlessly. Like, not only does Fernandinho need replacing, but David Silva is a big miss if he's out.
Because David Silva has adapted his game. Like, he's gone up a level at 32, 33, which is why when people say, who's better, Fabregas or Silva, and it's a silly comparison, really, different sort of players. But it does highlight the fact that David Silva has been able to up his game in his 30s, which is incredible.
Yeah,
really. Yeah, definitely.
The last couple of years, you'd probably argue some of his peak years, really. Just getting better and better, really.
For sure, and especially a player who's so advanced as well. It's quite rare, really.
Yeah.
You're used to seeing players kind of drop more deep, especially midfielders at that age. But yeah, his underlying stats as well, fantastic. 2.2 shots per 90, 1.7 dribbles, 2.9 key passes, which is only topped by Ward-Prowse, Maddison, Sanchez, and Willian in the league.
Prowse.
And Hazard, sorry, of
Fair
players who have
play.
played more than 500 minutes, yeah.
Ward-Prowse is top for players who have played over 500 minutes.
That's pretty
He's
amazing.
only just
Take
made
free
it,
kicks,
but
doesn't he? Maybe that
does take free kicks.
skewed it a little bit.
But he's played really well under Hassan.
and-
Always liked Ward-Prowse.
And big up Maddison as well for being up there as
In his
well.
debut
Really being
Premier League,
big creator for Leicester, hasn't he?
Massive, yeah.
But yeah, again as well, like we were talking about Mbappe's expected goals. His expected goals and assists are 0.8 per 90 as well, which is like ludicrous. That's actually ludicrous.
For a 33-year-old central midfielder.
Yeah, it's actually, yeah, I can't think of another player in his position who would be averaging those kind of numbers. Fernandinho as well, obviously been very, very good, averaging 76 passes a game, 87.7 pass accuracy, kind of to be expected, to be honest, making nearly 4 interceptions, at tackles and interceptions per game, only gets dribbled past 1.6 times per 90, hardly loses the ball. Yeah, I mean, those two alone, you know, kind of just set that midfield apart, don't they? And then when you've got De Bruyne or Bernardo Silva in there, it's it's just pretty hard to look past them really. And obviously in depth as well, they've got players like Delph who can do a job. Gundogan, who's been criticised when he's been stepping in for.
I feel like Gundogan is criticised because of what he isn't than because of what
for
he
sure.
is.
Yeah, obviously he's trying to do that job that Fernandinho does. And actually last season when he deputised, I think he was more effective for whatever reason. But this season the fans are on his back a little bit more. But then again, when he's not playing in that position, he's a very good all-round midfielder for them. Often gets on the score sheet, often creating chances.
One of 2 midfielders to get 4 assists in a game. Who's the other?
4 assists in a game.
If they don't know.
No.
Walker Peters.
Let
He's
us
not
know in the
midfielder.
comments below.
He did get.
Walker Peters?
He did get 4 assists in the game.
Did he?
Incredible.
That's
from Walker
crazy.
Peters.
What, this season?
This season, or maybe it
Wow.
was 3 assists.
Sorry, one of 2 midfielders in the FA Cup. I've got to caveat it
In
with
the
that.
FA
Oh,
Cup.
right,
All
okay.
right. I'm gonna say. I don't know what in FA Cup history.
In FA Cup history.
Probably an Arsenal one. Freddie Lundberg.
If you
I'm
don't
gonna
know
guess.
it, just say, hold your hands up and we'll let them guess it. all right?
I'm
You
going to
can
say Frank
finish.
Go on,
Lampard.
guys.
I'm going to say Frank Lampard
what are
on
you
this
gonna
one.
say?
I guessed Freddie Lundberg.
Okay, well, I'll let you know at the end of the show. But
Oh,
back
really?
to the
Oh.
midfield.
Tender.
I think I'm pretty much done with that, to be honest. There's a
Yeah.
lot more stats about Bernardo and KDB, but we know their strengths this season, or at least we know Bernardo Silva's. KDB's been out for a long time. But yeah, should we move on to defence,
His
Hamill?
strengths
Because-
on who scored Bernardo Silva should just be like everywhere.
Yeah,
shouldn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Just like covered
It's
like
a-
14 kilometres of a game. It doesn't matter if you've got 2 midfielders at 33.
Yeah.
If you've got one 26-year-old covering 13 kilometres, does
Yeah.
it?
It's
But-
an important point. Sorry, just
Go on.
to say, it's an important point about their depth as well. I don't think necessarily Delph, Zinchenko, Foden are the complete players yet. I mean, definitely not Zinchenko and Delph. I don't think they ever will be. But they know the Man City system so well, so they can almost seamlessly sit in. And Gundogan as well. They can rest Fernandinho for so many Premier League games, and he can do a pretty able job across those midfield roles. So it's a pretty exciting
Yeah,
time.
and it's really
for
cool
Pep.
to see how like clearly Pep is so keen on Foden.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
he's the one guy who you can't imagine them
Yeah.
selling. Obviously it was disappointing for City fans to see Diaz go to Real Madrid this month.
He didn't
but
really seem that arsed, did he, Pep, about Diaz? He said,
Yeah.
like, I only want players that want to be here,
yeah.
and they've also got outstanding wide
Yeah.
talent. Whereas Real Madrid, actually, it was a good move for Diaz because he's competing with Vasquez, an injured Bale, Asensio, who's not really captured the imagination this
Not
year.
become as consistent as you'd want.
So yeah,
from him.
Brahim Diaz, I think, good move for all parties.
Yeah.
Like that, City Academy is producing a Champions League player every season. I've said this before, and they're just running hot, aren't they? There's some other very, very promising young talents in there.
Definitely.
I'm covering defence, and it seems to always be the case that you just go to Italy and then you go to the top side in Italy, which is invariably Juventus this season. So at this stage, the best defences in Europe are PSG with 10 goals conceded, Juventus with 11 goals, but much stronger league, which is why I've opted for them. Liverpool on 13, Atletico Madrid probably a little bit fortunate to be here because they're not as defensively sound as they have been in previous seasons. And then Dortmund, Borussia Mönchengladbach and Leipzig actually are level on 18 goals conceded. But similar to sort of some of the stats you reeled off, PSG have played 4 fewer league games than Liverpool, and Juventus have played 3 fewer. But when you factor in kind of all competitions, the names I mentioned, still some outstanding sort of numbers from a plethora of sides. So PSG only conceding 0.7 goals a game. That's 21 goals in 29 games. Liverpool 0.8, 24 in 31, and Juventus 0.6. So 15 goals from the 27 they've played. That's why, in my opinion, it's fine margins, but pretty tough to look beyond them, even given the elite company they're in. So current personnel, you guys will know this, but I'll rattle through them anyway. Alexandro, Chiellini, Bonucci, João Cancelo, who has been incredible in every game I've watched. Admittedly, most of them have been Champions League games. But also backed up by De Sciglio, who they picked up for a decent fee. Benatia, Regani and Barzagli. So they could actually put a second back four together, that are much more competent than most top sides out there. It's alarming, their defensive reinforcements. Expected goals against, so a metric that we love, suggests that PSG and Bayern Munich have maybe been a little bit unfortunate to concede the goals they have. So statistically, the two best defences in Europe. So PSG should have conceded only 15 goals and Bayern Munich almost 16. Whereas Juve are kind of edging just over 16. But I think just the fact that Juve have kind of kept the same personnel, the continuity they've produced has been incredible. And we talk about Fernandinho and David Silva aging like fine wines. Well then, what about Bonucci? What about Chiellini?
What a comeback from Bonucci.
An animal. Bonucci's, I think Bonucci at the start of the season was responsible for like 4 goals that Juventus conceded, made some glaring sort of individual mistakes, and the fans weren't particularly keen on having him back. Of course, when he scored against Juventus with AC Milan, he made a point of celebrating there, didn't he? Because of some of the stick he got from Juventus fans for jumping ship. But he's come back, he swallowed his pride a little bit, and he's returning their faith in him with the performances. But there's got to be a transition of the old guard. So, minutes this season have been divided out amongst Bonucci, 1,400 minutes, Chiellini, almost 1,300, Regani and Benatia. And I think Benatia, for me, a top side should have picked him up a long time ago. I think he would have done wonders for a side like Arsenal. Yeah. A number of teams out there really. They've only got 450 minutes apiece. Barzagli just 94 minutes, but he's about 37. So I imagine he's more than happy just to chill on the sideline. Yeah. Regani 24 though, and I actually did a scout report at the start of the season on how really this is the year he's got to prove himself to Allegri. You have a very small window as a young player to prove yourself to Allegri. Bernardeschi's finding this as well. Dybala found it at the start of the season to prove that you're worthy of being that all-conquering Juventus side. And he's not really getting the minutes. And part of him must be thinking, what would have happened if I joined Chelsea for 40 million when Sarri came in? Of course, played under Sarri at Empoli, which is why that kind of link was there. But I think Sarri was a fan. He's always been an able distributor. His numbers at Juventus yet haven't been outstanding, which is where you kind of think, Allegri, like fair enough to an extent, but a consistent run in the side has maybe been beyond him a little bit. So he played 2,000 minutes, just over 2,000 minutes last season in the league and Champions League combined. This season only 6 starts. So it might that might be a sort of source of income that Juve take advantage of. However,
if Bonucci and Chiellini
if they can convince him to stay, because Bonucci and Chiellini, may drop off, then fair enough. But asking him to be sidelined for another year into his mid-20s might just be a step too far, in my opinion. But Juventus, for now, for me, are the all-conquering defence in Europe, just edging out PSG, but by standard of competition. And Bayern Munich have been very unfortunate, actually. Been very sad at the back since Kovac joined. But guys, what are your best defence, midfield, attack across Europe's top 5 leagues? Let us know in the comments below, and on Twitter and on Instagram. We'll endeavour to answer every single one of you. How's that for a commitment? On to Quickfire Questions. Time for Quickfire Questions, then we'll rattle through these because I think we spent 40 minutes on the first 2 questions, although you guys are a fan of the post-40 Sunday Vibes era, so Thank you for that.
No need to complain.
Incredible attention span, if you're still watching. First one is from Lulo2421, and he's asked, how do you think Zaha will do in Dortmund if he goes? That's a big if, because he's going to cost a pretty penny, isn't he? And how much would he be worth? Maybe let's just answer the first part of that question. How do you see a player like Zaha fitting in at Dortmund? I'll start with you on the end, dude.
I think it'd be a great move for him. I think he'd be good at Dortmund. I don't think he's had an outstanding year, at least not consistently, but it's been not the easiest team to play in, Crystal Palace at times. He's been playing up front with Andros Townsend, which isn't really his best position. He's best coming off the left, and when he's played on the left, I mean, even last week against Liverpool, he sort of terrorised James Milner.
Hodgson's gone Spanish, no striker.
Yeah, exactly.
El Hodge.
And induced him into a red card. It's a pretty good performance. Also got an assist in that game. But I find Zaha a bit frustrating at times. I mean, I got death threats on Twitter last year for saying he wasn't the best player outside the top 6. And it's proved, really.
Seems like a disproportionate reaction.
Yeah, it was a bit mental. I'd probably put Idrissa Gueye above him, Jamie Vardy,
Idrissa Gueye, who's been the subject of a bid from PSG, which is weird enough in itself, but great player.
But yeah, it'd be. I mean, they'll need another winger with Pulisic leaving, but I don't think Wilf Zaha will be a guaranteed starter there. Royce and Jadon Sancho and Brun Larsen and Paco Alcacer, they've got a pretty settled front line with a variety of combinations there. So it'd be difficult to see him break into that first team, but he does need to leave Palace, I think. Palace fans will hate me for that, but he definitely does need to leave.
For sure. I like Hodgson as a manager, but like what he is doing with Palace is not necessarily what Zaha would ideally have his sights set up. Yeah, for sure. Zaha is playing in a team that is set up to avoid relegation, hopefully get it kind of 11th or 10th place finish. Whereas really Zaha should be in a team that's challenging for at least Europa League places. And I think for sure. Like I think it would be hard to break into the Dortmund side for sure. But like I think to go to a side that's challenging for a European title, for a Bundesliga title, it would be a pretty amazing experience.
His talents are wasted at someone who's fighting relegation. And I think when he contributed to a goal last week, I think he put the ball across for Andros Townsend to score against Liverpool. I think that was his first goal contribution in something like 14 games. And don't quote me on that, but it was really surprising, sort of given the start of the season that he had. But Palace have been very unlucky in various games, and I mean, not playing with an out-and-out striker must be hard when you're a winger, like an inverted winger, coming in, looking to play off someone. Sorloth not getting a game. I think he was loaned out to a Belgian
club. I think Benteke is back now, but
Benteke, who every time I mention Benteke, I say that he's just kind of statistically defying the odds. You look at his shot map. Oh, Benteke taking shots from good positions. Benteke having a decent amount of shots per game. Benteke putting shots on target. Never scoring. Yeah. Poor old Christian Benteke. Save Benteke.
Connor Wickham's been playing a lot recently as well. So
he's back a little bit.
It'll be interesting to see whether he can come back to form, because he's had an awful time with injury. But yeah, Zaha, maybe a move this summer.
He does strike me as a bit of a Dortmund player. I will say that about this question. Lightning quick in the transition, really good at coming in from the wing and contributing to goal scoring scenarios. But they've got Jadon Sancho. Like why pay 75 million for Zaha? Because that's how much he costs.
75 million.
That's how much Palace asked for him.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
they're
a Premier League club. He's like,
he's got a long contract as well.
Long contract. Yeah, he's. I don't think he particularly is maybe that keen on moving. He's absolutely adored at Palace, isn't he? And I feel like he needs that.
Big fish in a small pond.
I mean, that's a bit of like a pseudo-analysis for you, but it's just pseudo-psychoanalysis, which is probably bullshit. Anyway, moving on. Next question comes from Jacques 33962274. Sort that out. Do you think Tottenham will fall out of the top 4 due to their injury problems? And Miguel, you can take this one off the bat.
Yeah, I mean they could. It will be interesting to see how they fare in the next Premier League game. Can't quite work out who that is, but although tonight, obviously this is recorded on a Thursday, playing Chelsea in the League Cup.
Yeah.
Crucial game.
I know they've got Man City in the coming weeks, but I think they've got like two really hard fixtures out of 5, I think. Yeah. But go on.
So it will be put to the test pretty quickly. Obviously, Dele Alli is out. Moussa Sissoko is actually back, I believe, or might be back if not against Chelsea or in the next game. So that's a big one because their midfield is becoming a little bit short of options.
I like
Harry
Musa
Winks keeping
Sissoko.
things-
Love a player who's leaves fans eating their words and
Yeah.
suggests maybe they were being too rash.
Yeah,
the
they
start of
probably,
this
probably
stint.
were in hindsight. But yeah, so that's a positive. But obviously, Kane out, Ali out, Son at the Asian
Games,
Cup, and there's someone else who I'm forgetting. But essentially, yeah, it's going to be kind of Eriksen feeding balls into Llorente for the coming weeks, which could be interesting.
We saw how they struggled against Fulham with that tact. He missed a couple of sitters. He looked a little bit rusty. Still reliant on goals.
Just not used to playing against Premier League opposition, basically.
I think they'd be better placed probably pushing Lucas more into the 9 position, because he actually played that quite well to pretty good effect. I think it was at Old Trafford earlier in the year when they won 3-0. I think he played in front of Kane and he was brilliant.
He was really good.
And he was great in those couple of games around there. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see about the top 4, to be honest. Initiative seems to be being handed around in the top 4, and United are actually the team with massive momentum now. Yeah. So I'd actually be quite surprised if they didn't make it, which is better.
It's crazy how they were 15 points off Arsenal before Christmas. Like, what has happened?
It's crazy.
There's 2 outstanding teams, and then I think there's 4 very good teams, but not that can be beaten by anyone.
Yeah, I think Spurs would be dead on cert for 3rd if they hadn't had this. They didn't have this crisis, and over Christmas people were saying, we were kind of going back on criticising Pochettino and the club for not securing transfers in the summer. Now people are suddenly thinking, oh well, actually maybe they should have, because now this is kind of laid bare what the underlying problem.
Praise for sticking to his guns and not signing players and making the best of what they had. And you're right.
Sure. So and they did make the best of what they had. Keeping hold of players like Kane and Ali and Eriksen is no mean feat. But yeah, I think I still fancy Spurs to stay in the top 4. Actually, I just think the incompetencies that we've seen with Arsenal recently, Chelsea now looking potentially in a bit of disarray with Sarri and the players. We'll see how that pans out. And United, great form at the moment, but you don't know what's really going to happen next. I think Tottenham will still edge it.
I think based just on Pochettino tactical nous and the way his players execute his system alone will secure them 3rd. So like you said, Chelsea players, they're struggling to adapt to Sarri's demands. Jorginho, in fact, opposition are becoming increasingly aware, of how he's pivotal to Sarri ball, and when you sort of bottleneck his service like Ramsey did against Arsenal, then all of a sudden they find it very hard to sort of take that large amount of possession and turn it into something meaningful. Like the chances they're producing at the moment are nothing short of shocking. Let's see if Higuain can save him like he did 2-3 years ago. Not saved him, but massively overperformed for Sarri when he got 35 goals for Napoli. I think Tottenham, much like you, I'm very much in agreement. I think you smashed it. McCubb's 3rd for me. One final one then before we move on to personal questions. We've got some good questions here to pick from. So, Doog CPFC, who will be the biggest transfer on deadline day? And of course, this is a good opportunity to plug the fact that we're doing a transfer deadline day show with Joe Cole, who will hopefully be discussing all things, Chelsea. Maybe we'll get the inside tracks on Eden Hazard, because he was the one that persuaded him to join Chelsea when they played together at Lille. So there'll be some interesting anecdotes. Come and join us on that Thursday.
Should be a cracker.
But going back to the question, what transfers do you guys see on the horizon? Got your crystal balls out?
Yeah, I actually don't think there'll be that much movement at the top of the Premier League. I don't think City or Liverpool, I can't really see them going for anyone that big this year. I don't think there's that much readily available talent that would be able to improve them. I do think that Malcolm could be on the move. I think he should go on the move, but whether Barcelona will let him now that Munir has left, now that Paco has left in the last 6 months or so, is another issue. There's talk of him going on loan to Spurs, which would be a fantastic move for him, even though they have greater issues in midfield. But yeah, I'm actually finding it quite difficult to predict. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm not really sure. I'm interested to see how the Arsenal kind of show pans out over the next week. Because it seems like anything could happen at the moment, and I don't know. Like talk of Ozil leaving has gone a bit quiet over the last few days, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was some sort of that played out in some way. I don't know.
Out the back door,
I really think. I mean, it'll probably just be loan moves for now because I feel like that's the only way that's the only way they can operate. But yeah, I think Arsenal will be definitely a club to keep an eye on over the next week.
As someone who's watched Barcelona more than the average fan, what do you make of George's dismay from our office at the likes of Denis Suarez joining Arsenal? Do you think there's anything there for him to offer? Like, he's a fine player at Villarreal, he's done okay at Barcelona.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of overreaction there, and I think that's.
It's not like George.
Yeah,
that was sarcasm, by the way, you George.
I don't quite get it. I understand the concerns about Carrasco, who they were linked with before, but I think Denis Suarez is a fine midfielder. I'm not really sure where. Yeah, I'm not really sure where that comes from, to be honest. I think he'd be a fine acquisition. I think the only thing I can see is that, like, obviously they've got Torreira and Guendouzi in there, who are both very good signings last summer, and just adding another central midfielder into the mix. I don't know whether that's necessarily exactly what they need.
Wingers.
Yeah, they do. They need a right winger.
Someone needs to snap up Nicolas Pepe as well from Lille as well. Unbelievable.
Joan Jordan.
And Joan Jordan, Hamel's favourite from the podcast.
I'll never ever give up on Joan Jordan securing a big money move. Anyway, let's move on pretty seamlessly to personal questions. Got some good ones. Starting with Paisley Javier. Yeah? What's your favourite city you've ever visited?
Ooh, Cubs, why don't you kick off?
You're a well
it's got to be
man.
Relatively over the last few years at least. I love Copenhagen as a European city. I think that's my favourite probably. Went there a couple of years ago, loved it. really just nice city, and
the
very,
happiest
very
people
chilled out.
in Europe, apparently
so. But I think in general, just for pure like what a city is, Delhi in India is just nuts, and it's just like amazing. It's like population of 21 million. Yeah. Everyone's just like it's just like imagine London.
Almost 3 times.
Yeah,
London.
Imagine London with 3 times the population, and like you're sharing the roads with pedestrians, cars, trucks, cows, and just everything in between. And like, there are just some parts of the city where you just walk down streets and you can just buy like the kind of marketplace is just they're just heaving, and it's just like it's what a city is like. That's
the life.
Yeah, I do like crazy cities, although they can be overwhelming. And that one is very much once you've had a couple of days of being completely overwhelmed by it, you suddenly get into the groove, and it's like,
acclimatise to the madness.
Yeah, it's kind of like, this is actually pretty amazing.
Pretty unique. Yeah, I love it when you go to a city that's so far removed from what you're used to. You either adapt or just die.
Survival of the fittest.
I've had some good times in Berlin. I've had a lot of fun in Prague as well.
It's a seedy place, and you're a seedy man.
Shush, Christopher. But my favourite city is actually a place in Colombia called Cartagena. I went there when I was travelling after school, and it's just got beach, it's got mountains. It's not that well known. When I went to Colombia, you were not many people you were sort of advised against going to many parts, but Cartagena, because of that, is quite unspoilt really. It's quite natural, and the people are really friendly, the food's really good. I'd go back there in a heartbeat. So Cartagena.
2 very cultured answers, gentlemen. In terms of a European break, Reykjavik was so far removed from London. It was just, everything was still. Miles and miles of nothing, just Greenland.
Expensive though, isn't it?
I mean, the whole of Scandinavia is pretty expensive. The food was absolutely unreal, which I wasn't expecting in the slightest. But obviously they've got produce galore and a population similar to Leicester. I mean, I seem to compare most cities to Leicester in that regard, but it's like almost 400,000, I think. And yeah, just doing some of the the spa days and just just slowing down life, from London was definitely pretty memorable. Other than that, cities that are really far removed just to maintain the theme. I mean, Accra in Ghana was mad, so was Tamale, and Goa in India was crazy. We had a really good weekend in Moscow, but I think Rome as a destination is pretty hard to top. just because you have absolutely everything. Like the ancient culture, which I'm sort of banging into. You've got sort of thriving, modern culture as well, and just the aesthetic and the history, man. It's just so
I need to get
so
some
tangible. It's so good. Shout out to Barca as well. Next one, Nathan Ridley. You can only have one brand of chocolate for the rest of your life. What do you pick? It's just got real.
That's big.
Lads.
That's hard. That's
Huge
so hard.
moment. This huge.
Oh.
Galaxy.
Good
Galaxy
choice.
is a good one.
Very good choice.
You know what?
Galaxy.
Oh, that's so difficult. I'm going to say the wrong thing because I'm on the spot now. In terms of the standard basic chocolate bars, twirls are so good.
Yeah,
I think in terms of I'm going to
Twirls,
go for a 12.
flakes, ripple.
Yeah.
Love this
I'm
passion.
going to go for a 12. I'm going to go for a 12. Yeah.
All the ones that like, I feel like they could be relatives. Twelves, flakes, and ripples, just
They're all kind of,
exceptional chocolate. But if you can't say Galaxy and then have the family of Galaxy, you've just got to stick with a Galaxy bar. Does that change your opinion at all?
Galaxy, okay, if it's just Galaxy bar, I might change to...
Well, but you did say one brand. I'm changing the question. No, Galaxy's fine.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
okay.
I'm getting a bit,
White chocolate buttons
Get
as well.
beyond
I like
myself.
them.
I was just about to say. You bought. When I go to Sainsbury's, when I go on a Sainsbury's run, I'm bringing white chocolate buttons back because they are like
Yeah, you have
crack.
been good at that recently.
But, do
terrible for your teeth,
buttons,
though.
not crack, is what I'm going to put out there from that question. Next question from Jamie Wilkes 134. Sweet or savoury? One word answer, please, gentlemen.
I'll go savoury. Yeah.
Yeah, savoury every time. I don't like puddings or desserts, really.
Savoury. Cheese and crackers is a dessert, isn't it? So best of both worlds. Last one then, at Thompson_JCR. What do you like to do in your spare time?
That's a very open-ended question.
Yeah.
I saw you jamming on your Instagram this week. Because
I do like getting on the old synth and drum machine.
It's good to have another passion, and yours is obviously music.
I love like making music and listening to it and stuff. To be honest, like scouring Spotify, digging as it were digitally, and just I'd say that's my main other thing that I like to do. Other than that, just like wander around and
taking the air. Nothing as culture as McCoven. I'm just a sports nut really, not just football. Love rugby, tennis, cricket, athletics, boxing. I consume BBC Sport like no one else. On that,
picking combined exercise.
My girlfriend's been trying to make me a bit more culture and get me to go to a few more exhibitions and that sort of thing. But I'm always slightly dragging my heels. But sport, anything going on, watching it, playing it.
You're a true fanatic.
Yeah.
I think I'm even worse. I don't think there's an hour in the day where I'm not thinking about Football Daily or something we can do on the channel to progress, to evolve. Just completely consumed by it. So that's really sad, boring, and
film. I'd say you're a film.
Yeah,
man.
but even film, I've just gone. I mean,
Really?
I watch a deep Parks. I mentioned Parks and Recreation last week, and I was absolutely beside myself with laughter last night at the episode where they all get drunk on snake juice. Go and watch season 3 of Parks and Recreation. But even I used to write film reviews, which I began to think were a little bit wanky. Just criticising films and not making your own stuff. After sort of university, but I was quite nerdy about films, but I'm more of a casual film fan now. It's a little bit sad, but I'm sure I'll get back to it. But Football Daily, all consuming, and that's all we have time for. Ending on that bombshell. Thanks very much, gentlemen, for joining me in the pub. And guys, I hope you enjoyed this elongated episode of Sunday Vibes as much as James Wayne enjoyed editing it. So goodbye and farewell.
Bye.